Lavender is one of those plants that looks easy, until it isn't. You buy it, picture a fragrant purple sea of blooms, and imagine harvesting bundles to hang in your kitchen or infuse into tea, but then it sulks, struggles, or outright dies. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Lavender is hardy in the right conditions, but it's surprisingly unforgiving when its needs are overlooked. Let's break down the most common mistakes gardeners make when growing lavender and how you can turn things around. One of the biggest issues people face with lavender is location. Lavender is native to the rocky, sun-drenched hills of the Mediterranean. It thrives in full sunlight and well-draining soil, but many gardeners plant it in spots that are too shaded or areas where water tends to pool, especially in clay-heavy soil. The result? Soggy roots and a plant that either refuses to grow or keels over from rot. If you're planting in the ground and your soil feels sticky or dense after watering, your lavender isn't going to like it. The fix is simple but essential. Relocate your lavender to a spot that gets at least 6 hours of full sun daily, and if your native soil is heavy, raise the bed or grow in containers with a sandy, gritty soil mix that mimics its natural environment. Watering is another area where people go wrong. Lavender is drought tolerant. Once established, it actually prefers life on the dry side, but too often gardeners treat it like thirsty basil, keeping the soil moist at all times. That's a fast track to root rot. Instead of routine watering, think strategic. Let the soil dry out between waterings and only water when the top inch feels dry to the touch. When you do water, make sure to water deeply and avoid wetting the foliage. This helps encourage deep root growth and also discourages fungal diseases. Another mistake, letting your lavender grow wild without pruning. It might seem like a low-maintenance plant, but if you skip pruning, lavender gets woody and sparse with, fewer blooms each year. You might start with a compact little mound and end up with a twiggy mess by the third season. Pruning helps maintain shape, promotes healthy new growth, and boosts flowering. Right after the first major bloom, typically in late spring or early summer, cut the plant back by about 1/3. Avoid cutting into the old wood, as it won't regrow. Lightly prune again in early fall to shape the plant before winter, but never do heavy pruning late in the season. Timing also matters when it comes to planting. A lot of gardeners make the mistake of planting lavender during those cold, wet winter months, thinking it'll just tough it out. But honestly, lavender is pretty vulnerable to fungal infections in damp conditions and really doesn't appreciate being planted when the soil is all soggy. Spring and early fall are your best windows. The soil is still warm, the sun is shining, and the plant has time to establish before those extremes of heat or cold really kick in. Another commonly overlooked factor is soil pH. Lavender is not a fan of acidic soils, and unfortunately, a lot of garden beds, especially the ones rich in compost, tend to skew acidic over time. Lavender actually prefers alkaline soil with a pH between 7.0 and 7.5. If your plant looks stunted or yellow despite being well cared for, it could be battling the wrong chemistry underground. Use a simple pH test kit to check, and if needed, add garden lime to gradually raise the pH. While pests aren't a huge problem for lavender, disease can be. In particular, fungal issues like botrytis thrive in humid conditions and tight plantings. That dusty gray mold can creep in unnoticed and wreak havoc on flowers and stems. The solution here is airflow. Space your plants so they're not crowding each other and avoid watering overhead. Remove any diseased or dead foliage promptly, and consider using an organic fungicide as a preventative if you live in a particularly humid climate. So here's the bottom line. If your lavender isn't thriving, it's likely one of a few predictable issues. Check the soil. It should drain fast and be on the alkaline side. Make sure your plant is soaking up the sun, not sitting in soggy shade. Water sparingly, prune annually, and plant at the right time. With just a few small corrections, your lavender can go from struggling to spectacular. Lavender rewards the attentive gardener. It may not forgive overwatering or poor soil, but it more than makes up for its pickiness with fragrance, beauty, and resilience once established. Plus, you'll get pollinators by the dozen, and your garden will smell like summer, even when it's just beginning to bloom. If this guide helped you pinpoint what's wrong with your lavender, or convinced you to give it another shot, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more deep dive gardening tips from Dirt Decoded. Share this with a friend who's been battling their own lavender frustrations, and drop a comment if you found any game-changing tricks we didn't mention. Let's fix those garden mistakes, one plant at a time.